Colin, to your guy, Bo Nix, your favorite quarterback out of Oregon. Look at this play by Bo Nix. Quarterback keeper, and then he's just, I'm lowering the boom on this hapless Jets cornerback. Runs him over. Obviously, Sean Payton loves his quarterback. Here he is talking about Bo Nix.
Sean, what's the balance with the quarterback on sliding for safety versus making sure you pick up whatever they do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, Bo uses his instincts. For the most part, you saw him slide, but then there was the one play where it was, holy cow. Yeah, he's got pretty good instincts, though.
Well, he's been uneven so far. He's struggling on the deep ball. You get good halves, bad halves. I will say this. I think Denver's offensive personnel is pretty good. I think he's been kind of alarmingly off on deep throws. Drake May and Jaden Daniels from his class feel like they're just, I kind of get the same quarterback every game the last 3 or 4 for Drake May. I think Sean Payton privately is a little disappointed. I think they miss on too many opportunities. Now, again, they're winning games, and I thought after the Philadelphia upset win, remember I told you this Friday, stay away from this game. You're overseas. You never know what's going to happen overseas. You have no idea. And they'd been away from home, and they just came off their biggest win in a year. I'm like, stay away. I think they go back home now, get Jackson Dart. I think that's who they're playing. So,
oh, yeah.
But I think you have to be disappointed. They've had open shots down the field, and they haven't hit them.
Yeah, I don't want to go in too hard. I think uneven is a great way to put it. Colin, Bo Nix, not quite a sophomore slump, but if you just look at basic stats, completion percentage down, yards per attempt down, QBR down, quarterback rating down. I mean, everybody got tape on him last year, and I think defenses are throwing wrinkles at him that he's not quickly realizing, and as such, he doesn't look as confident as he did at times last year.
I don't think Bo Nix hasn't looked confident. I never think that Bo Nix is unsure of himself, so I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think there is too much of a reliance on these big plays. And he hasn't been as accurate as you would want him to be on those big deep balls, but he's been insanely accurate and quick everywhere else. And I think there has been a little bit too much of a reliance on those deep balls, and some of the short yardage game, a lot of the screen plays and behind the line of scrimmage type passes, they're not going as big as they were last year. So yeah, I understand why then some of these other statistics are going to go down, like passer rating, completion percentage, etc., etc. This isn't like that Bo Nix now is fundamentally playing worse, or that he's now just doesn't look right. I don't see it that way at all. Again, the deep ball is its own isolated thing. And as Sean Payton has said, that's like the bottom of the list of things that he cares about in terms of Bo Nix's development and the offense as a whole. And completion percentage, let's just use week 6 as a perfect example, because this is obviously the most recent example game. And it's really perfect because he has a 63.3% completion percentage, which in the modern NFL right now is not the best, not the greatest, not the worst either, but, it's okay. But then you look at his adjusted completion percentage, and it's 84%. 84%. So when you combined multiple drop passes, throwaways, and whatnot, you're like, oh, actually, he was top in the NFL in completion percentage. He was top 3 in accuracy, with Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff leading the way, and had a greater average depth of target than both Mahomes and Jared Goff. Bo was 5.7, Patrick Mahomes 5.1, Jared Goff 4.1. And he had 0 turnover-worthy plays. So in a game where they could not get things going as well as you would like, he was smart. He took care of the ball. He didn't take sacks. He threw the ball away. Sometimes that's the way the games go. You absolutely, undeniably, no doubt about it, no ifs, ands, or buts, want to see Bo play better. Want to see this offense play better. No question about it. And when I watched that game, and I made my instant reaction, I was like, man, I don't even know what I just watched. I was like, that game was bizarre. And I said that the Broncos were very fortunate to come away with the win. That if Justin Fields and that team was just 2% better, 1% better, the Broncos lose that game probably, quite frankly. I can't even credit the Broncos defense because the Jets are just such a disaster on offense. And again, this is coming from someone who is very high on the Denver Broncos. And so you want to see them get better. What I found the most interesting, this is the cool thing about the style in which I operate this channel, where it's just like, reading all the comments, being able to talk about the game, read all the comments, and then make another video and addressing those comments. And it seemed like all the Broncos fans are very unhappy with Sean Payton. That's what's interesting. People who are just watching these games, they just want to jump and pile on Bo Nix and rip Bo Nix. And it was interesting because it seems like many Broncos fans are unhappy with Sean Payton. I personally don't necessarily see it that way. I'm still kind of wrestling with how these games are unfolding and where things are going right and where things are going wrong. What I don't see it as Bo Nix just being hot and cold. Yeah, there are absolutely some missed opportunities. But I guess I would like to see an offense run a little bit more smoothly where you're not so reliant on some of these big opportunities. I mean, right now, Bo Nix is actually top 2 in deep ball passing touchdowns with 4. So they're getting the touchdowns, but they're not getting the volume. When you look at yards, for instance, you can see all these other quarterbacks are getting way more yards on deep ball passing. Bo Nix is bottom. He's actually right below Bryce Young, 20th, 187 yards. And even when we look at completions, for instance, Bo Nix has 6 completions. And again, a big chunk of these are you have 7, 8, 9, so all you do is need like a couple extra completions and you skyrocket to the top 10 or top 5 or something. But the difference is, for instance, Bo Nix, 6 completions, 187 yards. You'll have someone like Patrick Mahomes, 8 completions, so just 2 more completions, but skyrockets to nearly 300 yards. Daniel Jones, 8 completions, 287 yards. Russell Wilson, 8 completions, 290 yards. I'm sure many of that came from that New York Giants game. And then even a Jalen Hurts, which is funny because everyone wanted to harp on him, 11 completions for 384 yards, 2 touchdowns. So I think it's safe to say that using a lot of these deep ball opportunities, I go so back and forth with all of these because they're necessary, they're important, but I just think sometimes we hyper focus on them too much. And I'm going to be making a separate video about that because Sam Darnold's playing out of his mind with it. 71.4% completion percentage on deep ball passing is just absolutely, that's insanity. That's insanity. And yet, you're not watching the Seattle Seahawks offense. I've watched every single game of theirs. I don't watch that game and just think, oh gosh, you got to be careful. They're just going to keep throwing deep ball after deep ball after deep ball. You're just like, no, they need to be able to systematically pick apart your defense. You need to be able to do all the other stuff. You need those screen passes. You need the behind the line of scrimmage passes. You need the intermediate throws. You need everything else. You need everything else. That the other stuff is great, but like he's got 2 touchdowns on deep ball passing and 15 out of 21 completions. Bo Nix has less than half that and yet has 4 touchdowns. Now again, you make the argument some of those deep ball passing sets up other touchdowns. Of course. But my point is that there's still other ways to kind of attack this offense. And I think every time people keep talking about Bo Nix and missing opportunities, it's mainly on these deep ball opportunities. So I do think there needs to be a bit retooling with this offense. Bo Nix needs to play better. I think there needs to be what's the word I want to use? Creativity won't be the right word, but I'd like to see them offensively be aggressive, but that doesn't mean just constantly trying to push the ball down the field. And really, like when we saw the one touchdown drive that Kurt Warner highlighted, and I talked about in my post-game clip, how Sean Payton really set that touchdown drive up, really set it up for Bo Nix nicely with a lot of these short passes, and then was able to set up, forget who ended up actually catching the touchdown in that moment. I cannot read my rating. Whoever the heck it was, because it ended up being a wide open touchdown to Atkins, and it was it was set up by all the short throws. I'd love to see more of that throughout the course of the game, and yet we never quite see that. We do see that a lot on a lot of those scripted plays, but yet I do not regularly see that throughout the course of a game. That I see less of, and I would like to see more of that. But I am curious, and so many people seem to be blaming Sean Payton right now. Specifically what? That's my question to you guys right now. Specifically, what about Sean Payton are you frustrated about? Because again, I don't fully share, I want to be very clear, I don't fully share those same frustrations, but I am curious. I would like to get a better understanding what the Broncos fan base feels right now, why the offense is lacking, what your issue with Sean Payton is, or Bo Nix for that matter. I would like to get a better understanding so I can talk about it more specifically, where you see things going, why things are happening how they are, and what changes need to be done. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.